Listen, life doesn't care about your feelings. The world doesn't pause because you're tired, broke, or uninspired. Every second you waste complaining is a second someone else is using to get ahead of you. And one day, you'll wake up and realize that your excuses have built you a cage you locked from the inside. Being a man isn't about muscles, cars, or money. It's about self-control. It's about being able to look at the things that drag you down, laziness, fear, bad habits, and destroy them before they destroy you. Discipline is not a punishment. Discipline is freedom. It's the power to command your body, your mind, your emotions, and your life. It's the weapon that separates the conquerors from the conquered. You want respect, earn it. You want success, build it. You want a life worth living, then stop chasing comfort and start chasing greatness. Every man has two choices: live as a victim of his own weakness, or rise as the master of his own will. And the moment you decide to be disciplined, the war is already halfway won. Control your impulses, or they will control you. Every single man has two voices inside his head. One whispers, "Take the easy way, just relax, you deserve it." The other says, "Get up, do the work, push yourself further." The difference between a weak man and a strong one is which voice he listens to. Weak men live their lives obeying the voice of comfort. They eat what they want, sleep when they want, waste time on meaningless pleasures, and convince themselves it's enjoying life. But what they're really doing is feeding their own destruction, one lazy choice at a time. Self-mastery means becoming the commander of your own body and mind. It's not about denying yourself pleasure forever. It's about being in control of when and how you allow it. A man who cannot say no to himself is already owned, not by another man, but by his cravings. The moment you give in to every desire, you lose authority over your life. You might think you're free, but you're shackled by your own weaknesses. Every impulse you have to procrastinate, to eat junk, to scroll endlessly on your phone, to skip the gym is a test. If you fail those tests daily, you can't expect victory in bigger battles. The man who can't say no to a cookie will struggle to say no to a bad deal, a toxic relationship, or a dangerous temptation. Strength isn't built in the big moments, it's built in the small ones. The decisions you make when no one is watching determine the man you become when everyone is. There is power in restraint. People think power comes from doing whatever you want, but that's not power, that's weakness disguised as freedom. True power is looking at something you want, something that would give you quick pleasure, and saying, "Not now, I decide when." That's the difference between a man who runs his life and a man whose life runs him. The world respects men who can control themselves because self-control is rare. Most men are slaves to their urges. They'll tell you they can't wake up early because they're night owls. They'll tell you they can't quit drinking because it's just social. They'll tell you they can't save money because life's expensive. These aren't facts, they're excuses dressed up as reality. A man who truly decides to master himself will find a way to rise above every excuse. You don't have to fight the whole war at once. Start small, but start with intent. If you say you're going to wake up at 5 a.m., do it. If you say you're going to the gym, go. If you say no sugar for a week, stick to it. These are small battles, but every victory builds armor for the bigger wars in life. And when the time comes where the stakes are high, when you have to make a decision that could change your future, the habit of self-control will already be wired into you. Self-mastery doesn't just make you stronger, it makes you trustworthy. People can rely on a man who keeps his word to himself. If you can't even keep a promise to your own soul, why should anyone else trust your word? Discipline in private builds credibility in public. It tells the world, I am in command here. I am not a prisoner of my own impulses. I am a man who decides his actions, not one who reacts to his feelings. Motivation is a spark, but discipline is the fire that keeps burning when the spark dies. Anyone can feel excited for a moment after watching an inspiring video, hearing a powerful speech, or setting a big goal. That rush of energy makes you feel unstoppable, but here's the truth. Motivation is temporary. It fades when the morning alarm rings and you're still tired. It disappears when the weather's bad, when your friends want you to go out instead of work, or when the results aren't coming as fast as you hoped. If you rely on motivation, you'll work hard only when it feels good, and life doesn't reward men who only work when they feel like it. Discipline is different. Discipline doesn't care about feelings. It doesn't care if you're tired, bored, or uninspired. It's a commitment you've made to yourself that doesn't break just because the mood changes. Motivation says, I'll do it if I feel ready. Discipline says, I'll do it regardless. That's why disciplined men get results. They show up every single time without fail and without negotiating with their emotions. The truth is, motivation is easy to find when things are going well. If you're making progress, if people are praising you, if the journey feels exciting, motivation flows naturally. But when progress slows, when you hit a plateau, or when the grind becomes repetitive, motivation evaporates. This is the point where most men quit. They think the feeling of excitement is necessary to keep going, so when it's gone, they stop. That's why they never see the results they dream about. They confuse feelings with commitment. Discipline is built in the moments when there's no applause, no visible reward, no excitement. It's built when you drag yourself to the gym in the rain. It's built when you stay focused on your work while everyone else is partying. It's built when you keep learning and practicing even though you feel like you're stuck in place. Those moments might feel small, but they're stacking bricks for something much bigger. The men who win long-term are the ones who understand that feelings are unreliable, but habits are dependable. They've trained themselves to act on decision, not emotion. They don't need the thrill to keep going. They've locked in routines that carry them through days of boredom, days of frustration, and days of doubt. They've created a system where showing up is non-negotiable. Every time you follow through when you don't feel like it, you're strengthening a muscle most men never use. That muscle is called consistency, and consistency is what produces results so impressive that people think they happened overnight, when in reality, they were the product of years of steady, disciplined effort. The guy who wakes up early every day doesn't do it because he's motivated every morning. He does it because he's trained his mind to follow the plan regardless of the mood. Motivation can start the journey, but it's discipline that finishes it. The man who understands this never waits to feel ready. He moves, he works, and he pushes forward simply because it's what must be done. The difference between the man who dreams and the man who achieves is that one works only when it's exciting, while the other works every single day, no matter what mood he wakes up in. Pain is not your enemy, it is your greatest teacher. Most men run from discomfort because they've been taught to believe that life should be easy, that happiness comes from avoiding struggle. But the truth is, every great man you admire was forged in the fire of hardship. Comfort makes you soft, pain makes you sharp. It's in the moments when you're pushed beyond what you think you can handle that you discover who you really are. When you embrace hardship, you separate yourself from the masses. The average man spends his life avoiding anything that feels uncomfortable, a tough workout, a difficult conversation, a demanding project. He thinks by avoiding pain he's protecting himself, but what he's really doing is weakening his spirit. The man who chooses the harder path every time is building a body and mind that can withstand anything. Every challenge you face is an opportunity to grow, but only if you face it head on. Pain forces you to adapt. When your muscles burn in the gym, they grow stronger. When your mind is stretched by stress and pressure, it learns to handle more. When life hits you hard and you refuse to quit, you develop resilience, the ability to stand firm when others crumble. These qualities aren't built in moments of comfort. They're built when you're tested, when you're in the trenches, when you have no choice but to push forward. The world doesn't hand out rewards for avoiding difficulty. It rewards the man who can endure, who can suffer longer than the rest, who can keep moving when everyone else has stopped. Hardship strips away excuses. When you're in the middle of something painful, you either fight or fold. And every time you choose to fight, you harden yourself into someone more capable, more dangerous, and more unbreakable. Most men misinterpret pain as a signal to stop. In reality, it's often a signal that you're moving in the right direction. Growth hurts because you're stretching beyond your current limits. The first time you try something new, it's awkward. The first week in the gym, it's exhausting. The first time you take a risk, it's terrifying. But these feelings are signs you're evolving. If you never feel that discomfort, you're standing still, and a man who stands still is slowly decaying. You must train yourself to view pain differently. Instead of asking, "How do I avoid this?" ask, "What can I learn from this? How will this make me stronger?" This shift in mindset turns obstacles into opportunities. Every setback becomes a training ground. Every failure becomes a lesson. Every challenge becomes proof that you're capable of more than you thought. The strongest men are not the ones who have avoided hardship, but the ones who have been broken down and rebuilt themselves over and over. They know that the struggle is where the transformation happens. The weights in the gym are heavy for a reason, because it's the resistance that builds strength. Life works the same way. Without resistance, there is no growth. Without struggle, there is no strength. Without pain, there is no greatness. Distractions are the silent killers of ambition. They don't destroy your life in one dramatic blow. They chip away at it piece by piece, stealing minutes, hours, and eventually years from your mission. Most men think failure comes from not trying hard enough, but more often, it comes from trying while being constantly pulled in 100 different directions. You can have the best plan in the world, but if you can't focus on it without interruption, it's useless. Every time you give your attention to something that doesn't move you closer to your goals, you're feeding the enemy. The modern world is designed to keep you distracted. Endless notifications, meaningless entertainment, constant noise demanding your attention. If you allow it, you'll wake up one day realizing you've spent more time scrolling, watching, and reacting than actually building anything of value. A man who cannot control his focus is a man who will never control his future. Cutting out distractions isn't just about removing bad habits. It's about protecting your time like it's the most valuable currency you own, because it is. Once a day is gone, it never comes back. You can make more money, you can gain more possessions, but you can't buy back a wasted hour. That's why you must treat your attention as a weapon and only aim it at what matters. It takes discipline to say no to distractions because they are comfortable. They offer instant pleasure with no effort, the exact opposite of the work required for your goals. That's why they're so dangerous. You tell yourself just 5 minutes, and before you know it, an hour is gone. You think you're in control, but the truth is, the distraction is controlling you. Every time you indulge in it, you're strengthening the habit of avoiding work and weakening the habit of staying locked in on your mission. You must be ruthless about what you allow into your life. If something doesn't serve your purpose, it's an anchor. This might mean cutting out certain people who constantly waste your time. It might mean deleting apps that drain your focus. It might mean structuring your day so there's no space for idle wandering. A man with a clear mission cannot afford to be casual about where his attention goes. When you eliminate distractions, you'll notice 2 things. First, you'll get more done in less time because your energy isn't constantly being split into fragments. Second, your mind will become sharper. Focus is like a muscle. The more you train it by resisting temptation, the stronger it becomes. Soon, you'll be able to work with intensity for long stretches, while other men can barely concentrate for a few minutes without reaching for their phone. The truth is, most of your competition isn't failing because they're less talented. They're failing because they can't stay locked in long enough to finish what they start. That is your advantage. In a world full of distracted men, the one who can maintain deep focus is unstoppable. The man who can shut out the noise, ignore the bait, and commit fully to the task in front of him will always pull ahead of the man who chases every shiny object. Holding yourself accountable is one of the hardest things a man can do because it requires brutal honesty. It's easy to point fingers at circumstances, other people, or bad luck. It's much harder to look in the mirror and admit, I failed because I didn't do what I said I would do. Most men will do anything to avoid that kind of truth because it crushes the ego, but without accountability, there is no growth. You can't fix what you refuse to admit is broken. Accountability means you stop giving yourself free passes. It means if you said you'd wake up at 5 a.m. and you hit snooze, you own it. If you promised yourself you'd go to the gym and you skipped, you own it. If you committed to building a business and you wasted the day watching TV, you own it. No excuses, no blaming outside forces, no sugarcoating. You take full responsibility because your life is a direct reflection of your actions or your lack of them. The reason accountability is so powerful is that it forces you to face reality. When you hide behind excuses, you can convince yourself you're doing okay, when in reality you're falling short. But when you strip away the justifications and measure yourself against the standard you've set, you see the truth. That truth can hurt, but it's the pain of awareness that drives change. The man who lies to himself will stay stuck. The man who demands the truth from himself will evolve. You have to set standards for yourself that are higher than what anyone else expects from you. If the people around you think you're doing well, that's fine, but their opinion doesn't matter if you know deep down you're capable of more. When you hold yourself to a level that makes others uncomfortable, you create a gap between you and the average man. You stop playing to impress the crowd and start playing to dominate your own potential. Accountability also means tracking your progress. You can't improve what you don't measure. If you want to get stronger, you track your workouts. If you want to earn more, you track your income and your actions that lead to it. If you want to improve your discipline, you track how many days you've kept your commitments without breaking them. When the numbers are in front of you, there's no hiding. You either did the work or you didn't. It's easy to slack when no one is watching, which is why most men never reach their goals. They only perform when there's an audience, but a man with real accountability performs at the highest level even when no one will ever know, because he knows. The private victories are what make the public wins possible. If you can't keep a promise to yourself in silence, you won't be able to keep it when the pressure is high. Some men seek accountability partners or mentors, which can help, but the highest form of accountability is internal. It's the ability to look at yourself every day and ask, did I do everything I could today to move forward? And to answer honestly, even when the answer is no. That kind of self-policing builds integrity, and integrity is the foundation of trust. Not just trust from others, but trust in yourself. What you do every single day becomes the man you are remembered as. A legacy is not built in one grand moment. It's built brick by brick, habit by habit, through years of consistent action. The way you live your days is the way you live your life, and the habits you repeat will echo far beyond your lifetime. Discipline is the architect of that legacy. Without it, your potential remains just that potential, wasted and forgotten. Every choice you make adds to the story of your life. The man who disciplines himself to work, train, learn, and improve every day is stacking victories that no one can take from him. People might not notice the work right away, but over time it becomes undeniable. The same man who quietly wakes up before dawn for years, who refuses to waste his days on meaningless distractions, who chooses the harder road again and again, will eventually stand in a place where others look up to him not because he got lucky, but because he built himself piece by piece. Legacy is not about what you say you will do. It's about what you actually do consistently, when it's hard, when it's boring, when it's lonely. Many men start with big dreams, but without discipline, those dreams fade. The disciplined man turns those dreams into reality, and that reality becomes the proof of his existence. You will be remembered for the results you produce, not the excuses you give. Discipline also shapes the way others see you. People respect a man who is reliable, who does what he says, who can be counted on when things get difficult. They may not always like you, they may not always agree with you, but they will respect you. That respect can open doors, inspire others, and extend your influence far beyond your immediate reach. A man without discipline leaves no impression. A man with discipline leaves a mark. The daily grind that most people avoid is exactly where legacy is forged. It's in the quiet repetition of showing up, of doing the hard thing again and again, of holding yourself to a standard that doesn't bend with your mood. These actions compound over years, and the results are undeniable. Even after you're gone, the effects of your discipline in your work, in your family, in the people you influenced continue to live on. The truth is, discipline creates a life that outlives you. The lessons you embody get passed down. The example you set becomes a standard for others. People will remember the man who stood firm when it was easier to fold, who kept pushing when others quit, who lived with purpose and refused to waste the time he was given. Your discipline becomes the silent voice in someone else's head, pushing them to rise, to fight, to refuse to settle. This is why every small act of discipline matters. You might think no one notices the early mornings, the skipped parties, the endless repetitions, the sacrifices, but they build into something so powerful that it can't be ignored. Your discipline becomes your fingerprint on the world, the thing that proves you were here and you made it count.